Hello to all my BPTV fans, YouTube fans, Facebook fans, new fans watching this show for the first time. And my guest's first name is Jim. To all of Jim's fans, hello. I'm Alan Levine, the Talking Machine, doing my newest show. This is my 7th show. It's called The Talking Machine Show. I can interview anybody, not just sports people. If you know sports, we can talk sports too, since that's my wheelhouse. So I have a great guest. I'm going to let him introduce himself.
So my name's Jim Shorkey, and my claim to fame, I suppose, comes from the Jim Shorkey Family Auto Group. My father started that business in 1974. I came aboard in 1979 after graduating from college. Worked my way up through the business. My father died very suddenly on March 24th, 1996. I often say if I was half as smart as I thought I was when my dad died, I would have been pretty darn smart. I proceeded to run the business in my way, what I felt was the best way. Ignored a lot of advice. I was very arrogant. Ended up 2 years later, 1998, bankruptcy imminent. Was not a pretty situation, and I was in a situation where I couldn't let that bankruptcy imminent be my father's legacy. It just was very sad, very troubling, and so I had to figure my way out of that, and that's what I did with a lot of help, a lot of mentors, a lot of great friends who helped me, and I turned it around. And so when you read about the Jim Shorkey Family Auto Group, if you haven't heard about it, you can go online and do a Google search and check it out, Jim Shorkey Family Auto Group. It's a real powerhouse in the Pittsburgh market relative to selling cars. So that's basically the thread of my story.
Thank you so much, Jim. I'm honored to have you on my show because I didn't know the background till a few months ago when you had put it out there. And all I know is your commercials, Jim Shorkey Kia and all the rest.
Yes.
That's all I knew. So I'm like, who is this guy? and I'm a guy that reads book autobiographies and loves history because people haven't changed in thousands of years.
Yeah.
So your story fits in with what I believe in and practice, that we're always looking forward how to do better and how to overcome obstacles. My dad used to always say when something bad would happen, what are you going to do next?
Yeah, that's great. That's a great philosophy.
And I followed that, and we have some common interests. We'll get into that. But I want my fans and friends to find out a little bit about you. And, I started at the beginning. Where were you born at?
So I was born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. My parents
were at?
I don't know.
Okay, then we'll move on.
Maybe Shadyside Hospital. I'm not really sure, but
okay.
In Pittsburgh, nevertheless. And my dad actually got involved in the automobile business back in the late 50s.
Wow.
So it was shortly after.
What a history.
Yeah, and so they moved out to Irwin, which nobody did.
Right.
When you were from Pittsburgh, that was unheard of. Anyways, that's what they did, and we lived in Irwin. Couple of different houses in the late 50s, so I was 2, 3, 4 years old.
So where'd you go to school at then?
Went to Greensburg Central Catholic High School.
Okay, so this is out east for the Pittsburgh fans from the South Hills here.
Yes.
This is out east. I'm a little bit familiar from my mother's family living in East McKeesport.
Right. Yep.
And we knew Irwin and all that. It was like a foreign town to us. It was so far away.
It was, back in those days, it really was.
Yes, and I think we're similar ages here. So I was born in 56.
57.
So we're close. And so you went to Greensburg High School.
Greensburg Central Catholic High School.
Oh, Central Catholic High School. Okay, thanks for clarifying that.
Yeah, I went to St. Edward's in Hermione, and then to Greensburg Central Catholic, so 12 years of Catholic school, per se.
Sure.
And then from there, I graduated from Greensburg Central Catholic, and I went to State College at that time. It was actually called a State College out in outside of Lancaster, Millersville State College.
Oh, really?
Which is now Millersville University.
I've only heard about that recently because some people were posting at me with sports and things. Something came up just recently about it.
Lovely place.
And why did you go there?
I was a runner, and so...
You still look like a runner.
I am to a degree, but not nearly what I was. I ran at the collegiate level, cross country and track.
Did you have any wins? Since I'm a sports guy, I got to ask. Did you win anything?
I was a Division III All-American.
I know you're a modest man. I had to get that out of you.
Well, I was, but it was Division III, so it's not the big time, but still big enough that it was an honor. I was 14th in the nation back in 1976.
Congratulations.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Belatedly, of course. No, I'm just
But I went there to run, and I went there for 3 reasons: to run, to drink beer, and to meet girls.
Okay.
And the education was kind of a part of it.
You sound like a fine young man.
Troublemaker. But I did get an education in economics and math.
Okay.
So, but
So you
still,
did put in
and I
the
met
effort there.
And I met my wife there. Yeah. My
Well,
wife
that's a couple of your missions accomplished.
Yeah.
I'm
Been
not
mar-
going to ask about the beer since we're a family-friendly show, and you may not remember.
You know what?
So,
That's a great part of it. You know, I have a drinking problem.
Okay.
Called not knowing when to quit. So I stopped drinking on December 26, 1993, and I've never drank again. So I mean, I'm not a fan of
Almost
alcohol.
28 years.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Thanks for
you.
sharing that.
Yeah.
I'm finding out more information than I even imagined.
I'm
Thank
a
you.
mysterious guy.
Yeah.
But no, I don't drink at all because I really can't. I have a drinking problem.
Okay.
But anyways, met my wife at Millersville. We've been married 42 years this month.
God bless you.
July 14th. And yeah, very, very fortunate, very blessed for all of that, you know.
Well, I always do this because I'm family friendly. Would you say hello to your wife, and do you have children or grandchildren?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. So I have
So-
my wife, Amy. Hello, Amy. And so my daughter, Katie.
Okay.
My son, Jim the third. My second son, Russell James, and my third son, Daniel James. And then their significant others, who is Matt Margenovich, Jamie, Ashley, got me in the sputter, and
Yes.
Chelsea.
That's
And
what
then-
I do.
And then we have 8 grandchildren.
That is great.
Yeah. And so Lila and Sophie and Simon and Evelyn and Hadley and Russell James, my grandson,
Okay.
and William Dennis, my grandson, and then well, actually, William James is the newest grandson,
The youngest.
but very close to the same age as Theo James, who just celebrated his first birthday this past week here.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah, it's great.
No,
Family is really important.
All right, so after you graduate, what were you going to do, or what
I
were you
want-
going to
well,
be?
you know,
That's
I
what was your ambition?
I wanted to sell cars when I was 5 years old, and of
Really?
course a lot of that's from my father. My father was in the business. I loved the car dealership. I loved the smell. I loved being around the car dealership. So, you know, I just loved the car dealership. So when I was 5 years old, career day in first grade, I said, "What do you want to do?" I said, "I want to sell cars," and I never
Yeah.
veered from that. I always wanted to sell cars.
That was your vision.
Yeah, so I got out of college, and I had already sold cars that summer, the summer of '78.
Part-time.
No, full-time. Well, it was a summertime job, you know.
Yeah.
So full-time in the summer. And so went back, graduated from college December of 1978, and went
Yeah.
on to, and I started selling cars. And so I sold cars. I was a manager, a lower level manager, up. Ended up when my dad died, I was a general sales manager.
Right.
And thought I knew it all. That's an interesting lesson to all of our viewers out there, is that I believe inside of this guy here, I believe that arrogance is the number one enemy of any successful enterprise. Whether it be a marriage, a church, a family, a business, arrogance tears things apart. And so that's what I was guilty of, was being arrogant. And so I had to fix that. And I did.
No, I understand that. I'm not a yes man, but I agree with you. And I've seen that in life with arrogance
a terrible
taking
thing.
people down. Sure.
Yeah,
No doubt about it.
It pushes people away.
It's hard to overcome or even provide information for people that are arrogant.
Well, when you're arrogant, you know, so you can either attract people to you, or you can cause people to go away from you. You can repel them. And so
Yes.
arrogance is an arrogant
It's
salesperson
divisive.
is
It's
not
very
going to be very
divisive.
successful.
Yeah.
He's just not. He or she's not. So I had to learn that lesson. And so at the Jim Shorkey Family Auto Group, we have 3 fundamental rules that we operate from. And so the first rule of the Jim Shorkey Family Auto Group is to love the customer. And I do mean love the customer, L-O-V-E, love the customer.
Okay.
Figuratively speaking, hug them, kiss them, take care of them, because if we don't love our customers, then we're not going to have any customers. So that was the number one most important rule of the Jim Shorkey Family Auto Group, was to love the customer. The second number one rule, and this is important, was to love the team. Because if we don't love our team, hug them, figuratively speaking, of course, and take care of them and respect them and treat them well, then there's not going to be anybody to love the customers, and the business starts to unravel at that point. Now, if you do number one very well, love the customer, do number two very well, love the team, the tendency of the individual or the team or the whole group is to become arrogant. And as I've already said, arrogance is the number one enemy of any successful enterprise, and I recognize that because that's what I was, right? So the third rule of the Jim Shorkey Family Auto Group, which is almost number one, is to keep it very, very, very humble. And I have 3 varies in there for a reason, because it's that important. And interestingly enough, over time, the rule that got violated the most was number 3. And I had to sit people down and have a conversation because, hey, we're not going to treat our customers like that. You're arrogant. We're not going to treat our team like that. You're arrogant. So we had to get that fixed, or they had to get their walking papers. We couldn't have that element in the business. And so that philosophy
Yes.
is what built
No,
the Jim
thanks for
Shorkey
putting
Family
your
Group.
foundation, I call it, putting a foundation out
that's
there on
what
a
built
business
the group. So
to
when
give
you
it
see
guidance.
when you see what it is today, then you just understand that it evolved from those three principles: love the customer, love the team, keep it very, very, very humble.
And I'm sure you've tweaked it over the years
Nope.
to get people.
They tried to. They did. Actually, when I left, they tried to.
Yeah.
And they worked on it. They studied it and they researched it. They couldn't beat it. They couldn't come up with
No,
anything.
because this day and age, everybody's always tweaking something.
Yeah. You said earlier. You said KISS. Keep it simple, smart.
Yeah.
Can't get any more simple than that. Love the customer, love the team, keep it very, very, very humble. And why not just do that? And
The
so we
KISS
don't need to tweak
methods
it.
help for me.
Yeah, we don't need to tweak it. We just need to do that. And if we do that very proficiently, then we get to be very successful. And that could be a church, that could be a marriage, that could be a family.
Yeah.
We got to respect each other. It's
Oh.
really important. And we got to lose the arrogance, because if you've ever been around somebody that's arrogant, probably if I was
Yes.
postulating here.
Yes,
I
go
would say-
ahead.
I would say
Carry on.
I would say probably when you're around an arrogant person, at some point you want to get away from them. It's not a good formula for business. It's just not. Or a marriage. It's just not. Or a church. Whatever you want to look at, arrogance is the number one enemy of any successful enterprise.
No, I've done a lot of different things in life, and I've seen it. I was a union production worker for 36 years at the Press and Post Gazette. We had every type of bad person in the world, and we also had many good, loving people and
Absolutely.
religious people.
Yes. Yes.
And I was attracted to them, and there were over 200. So I witnessed it firsthand from an age of 18 years old
Good for you.
on up.
Good for you.
And it led me into some of the interests that we have in common. And since you're so positive, and I am too, I wanted to tell people, Think and Grow Rich helped to shape my life, written by Napoleon Hill, who was assigned to do it by Andrew Carnegie.
Correct.
To find out the secret of rich people. And I found out that not only did you read it, but you do videos to help promote other people
Yep.
to practice what you and I learned.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you could share a little bit about that, because I appreciate and respect that and follow it to this day. And I read the book at 19 years old.
Good for you. So 1998 again, repetitious.
That's okay. This is you.
Yeah, I'm
This is
bankruptcy.
about you. We're good.
I'm bankruptcy imminent, and I'm very sad. Too much month at the end of the money. Very sad.
Yes.
This was my dad's business, and here I am, Mr. Big Shot, Mr. Arrogant, and I'm bankruptcy imminent, and that's no kidding.
And the legacy's at risk.
The legacy was very much at risk. As a matter of fact, to make a long story short, I got a phone call from my sister on Sunday night. She said, tomorrow morning when we open up the business, the bank account's going to be a negative $55,000. Checks are going to bounce. Needless to say, I didn't sleep that night. I went to the bank the next morning. I was on their doorstep. I don't believe in running from difficult situations. I'm going to hit them head on, and I did. So I'm on the doorstep of the bank. Got a hold of Alazar, who was my banking guy, and he assured me that my checks would not bounce, which was just, I couldn't bear the thought of that being my dad. They were my dad's checks. They weren't my checks. That's how I felt about it. So he assured me that they wouldn't bounce. I borrowed $100,000 from the bank to get the business floating again, and then I had to get to work. And so this book surfaced called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, written in 1937. And to be clear, Napoleon Hill interviewed 500 of the wealthiest people in America over a period of about 20 years. And it was basically a what did you do, what did you do, what did you do to be so successful kind of a book. And from those interviews, he developed 13 principles. So here I am, bankruptcy imminent, don't know left from right. I said to Napoleon Hill, I actually had a conversation with him. Now, he was dead at the time, but still I had this conversation. I said, Napoleon Hill, if you can get me out of this, I'll do exactly what you tell me to do, and I'll never be arrogant again. One of the things he tells you in the chapter on imagination, he says to read the book cover to cover, and before you put it down, read it at least 3 times, because then you're not going to want to stop. And I'm pretty much on the money with that quote, maybe slightly paraphrasing, but read the book 3 times before you put it down, because then you're not going to want to stop. So I read the book, and I started to implement what Napoleon Hill told me to do, and lo and behold, the needle started to move. It started to bump up a little bit, right? So I could see that. I could actually physically see that the bank account was growing, things were turning around. So I read it for the second time, the third time, and And I remember, I never forget that Napoleon Hill said, you know, because then you're not going to want to stop. Well, here I am. I'm turning this thing around. It gives me massive chills right now. And I thought, well, you know, I don't want to jinx this thing, so I'm just going to keep reading it. So I read it again and again and again. I've read the book 144 times.
You are consistent.
144 times. Yes.
Wow.
And so you know, it's interesting. The book is so interesting from the perspective that the hand that picks up the book is not the same hand that puts the book back down again. So you change as a result of implementing Napoleon Hill's philosophy. And so because you change, when you pick that book up and read it for the 142nd time, it's not the same book. And you see different insights into the book at that time. So I've never, ever read a book. And I'm actually not reading it at all right now because I'm working on my health, and I'm very aggressively working on that idea. So I'm reading very important health books. I actually have one with me that we were talking about, Al and I.
Yes.
And
we may bring that up because you piqued my interest. I like books.
Yeah.
And with your health, I got to veer off a little about all the positivity and how you came back. What's up with your health, and why are you doing this?
Well, you know, so just remember, wealthy, unhealthy, you bought the wrong program, right? So I'm in the business, I'm incredibly successful, making a lot of money, banking a lot of money, doing a lot of great things, but I'm sleep deprived, stressed out with no stress mitigation efforts at all. And as I study health, those two things, if you don't fix those two things, you are royally screwed. Excuse my French, but that's a fact. So if you're not getting enough sleep and you don't have a stress mitigation approach, then you can eat all the broccoli you want. It's not going to help, right? It'll help to a degree, but not enough, right? But I was sleep deprived. I was stressed out. If the guys ordered hot dogs, I had hot dogs. If they ordered pizza, I had pizza. I was drinking 3 Mountain Dews a day. I was just whatever I could shove into my mouth. That's what I was doing, and I ate at my desk, which is the worst thing you can do. So stressed out, sleep deprived, eating at my desk, crap food, blah 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 blah. I sat at my desk all day long. I did very little physical movement except for when I had to pee. Great strategy for exercise. I exercised, I worked out, but turns out that working out is not the answer. The answer is moving all day long. Keep moving, keep moving, keep moving. So I ended up with health issues. You know, I had a heart attack. It was an asymptomatic heart attack. I had no symptoms. The doctor told me I probably would have had flu-type symptoms, but anyways, asymptomatic heart attack.
Sure.
I'm on my 4th aneurysm. I had an aneurysm in my abdomen, which was repaired, and now literally 6 weeks ago today, I had a repair for 3 aneurysms in my pelvic area.
You're kidding.
Yeah, these are critical.
Is this in your family, or is this just
my
with
dad
you?
did have one. I think there's probably
Because it follows with people.
Yeah,
I know there's a lot of that.
I'm sure that there is, but you know what? Seriously, hey, listen, without my mom and dad, I'm not sitting here talking to you right now. So I'm very grateful for my parents. And the fact that maybe
May they rest in peace and be your guardian angels.
The fact that I've got some bad genes, I'm still here. I live in America. I get to talk to Alan Levine today, and I'm so happy for that, right? I really am. Believe me, I'm very grateful. So anyways, but I just had an aneurysm repair for 3 of these things,
right.
And very quickly, I found out I had this problem. I said to the doctor, well, you know, what's the chance of one of these things? And I can't get surgery for 3.5 weeks, right? What's the chances of one of these things bursting? 30%. I'm
You're
like,
kidding.
what? 30%? I said, what kind of a time frame are we talking about? He says, this thing could burst on the way to the car today. I'm like, holy cow. And I've got 3.5 weeks to wait to get this done. But I had a strategy for how I was going to handle that 3.5 weeks and what I would do to come out with the best possible result that I could. So here I am 6 weeks later with the pleasure of talking to Alan Levine. I do get tired. I'm in recovery. The recovery, I have to say, has been more difficult than I anticipated. But the bottom line is, see, when you have a circumstance that is not good, not acceptable, that is problematic, my solution to the circumstance is to execute what I call a pivot. Excuse me.
Okay.
So pivot, P-I-V-O-T. What does that mean? I have this circumstance. I don't like the circumstance. Now, what am I going to do different? How am I going to react to the circumstance? And what am I going to do differently so that going forward I can get better results? That's what I did in 1998 when I was bankruptcy imminent. That's what I did in 2008 during the Great Recession.
Okay.
That's what I'm doing now with my health because I've got some bad results. And I'm not going to play the blame game. I am not a victim. I operate from an internal locus of control, which means it's my fault. Everything's my fault. I don't blame Alan. I don't blame mom and dad. I don't blame my siblings. I only blame Jim Shorkey because if it's Alan's fault, guess what? I got to fix him. Well, if he doesn't want to get fixed, I'm in trouble, right? So the only answer.
As you know, I've been fixed.
I
From
know,
near
I
death
know.
to I'm
I
alive,
know.
and my kidney transplant is doing great.
Yeah, and-
My last blood and urine labs
Yeah.
were perfect.
And I actually was thinking about that driving over because I'm aware of what and your son donated the kidney.
Yes, he did, my hero.
But you know what? I feel a little guilty even, like thinking like, heck, you had a way more difficult situation. I mean, you were basically guaranteed to die.
Yes.
Which I had a chance of living, but yours was very, very, very bleak. And look at you, man. Look at you.
Thank you.
Look at what you're doing, man. You're a rock star. And so,
Well, with my Think and Grow Rich, I always have had a positive attitude.
it's important.
And that's helped me through life. And in the hospital, they said, you're one of the most positive patients we've ever had in here.
Excellent. Excellent.
So I just wanted to share that
No,
with
that's
you.
important.
And to people that don't read, it may be a little unwieldy to read because it was written back in the late 20s, early 30s.
1937.
Yeah, but it was published. Wasn't
Well,
it
no,
published
actually,
then?
what
He
happened
was researching it for,
well, he wrote a book called, actually it was a course.
yes.
A course called The Law of Success. And that
I've
was
read that too,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, that's about 1,000 pages. That was the research, right?
Right.
Which produced The Law of Success. Then
Yeah, I
in
misconstrued that a little
No,
bit.
you got it. You're pretty much right. In 1937, he wrote this book as sort of a kind of a Reader's Digest version of The Law of Success. So there was no more research. It was just,
Okay, I
he
take
wrote this
that back.
book in
But
37.
for people in this day and age with self-help books,
Yeah.
this was actually the first self-help book that came out. They actually refer to it when you're looking for self-help
Absolutely.
books.
Yep.
And I've had success with it and able to do it
Me too.
now. And that's why I'm honored with all your issues and other things. I know you accept responsibility for yourself, and that's what I tell people all the time. I'm going to take responsibility. Bring that book up because I want to see and hear some things that have helped you.
Which book is that now?
The book that's down there.
Oh, okay. So
Yes,
I'm very
because you
interested.
brought it here, and I believe in other people guiding the interviews.
Yeah,
So
it's my prop, and so I'm
Yes.
studying health very aggressively right now. So this fellow's
with good reason.
yeah, exactly.
That's life-threatening.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, one of Napoleon Hill's basic precepts is to seek expert counsel, which means find somebody who's smarter than you, who's done what you want to do, and have a conversation. Now, that conversation could be Alan and I talking right now. It could be through a YouTube video. It could be through a book. It could be through a training course. Whatever case may be, find somebody who is smarter than you and have a conversation. And so I've been studying health, and what happens for me is that one book leads to another book, and another book leads to another book, and it keeps going downstream.
I have that same problem.
Yeah, exactly.
One
yeah.
subject, I could read a dozen books on it.
Exactly. It's like I have this book here.
And we're curious, right?
Like, I don't need another book, right?
Right.
So this book here is written by Robert H. Lustig, Lustig.
How did you find it?
Well, so a guy that I have a lot of admiration for, I love, is Dr. David Perlmutter, and he is a neurologist. And I watch a podcast periodically with Dr. David Perlmutter. So he did an interview of Robert H. Lustig, MD, and they were talking about.
Let me hold the book up. So
They were talking about this.
we can highlight this.
Yeah.
I want to see the
read-
metabolical,
Yeah, read what it says.
the lure and the lies of processed food, nutrition, and modern medicine. This is right up my alley here.
Not here to be judgmental. I'm only talking to Jim Shorkey. I'm not a doctor. I'm a car salesman. But I can tell you that going forward, processed food does not belong in this body here. If I want to, so I have this goal. It's 122 healthy, happy, terrific years.
You going to go over each one?
Well,
For
the
time, we're not going to.
The 122, though, it has been done.
Okay.
Lady's name is Jean Clamou from France. But more interestingly than that, you can do it. I would encourage you, go on YouTube and search out a lady. Her name is Kane, Kane, Kane Tanaka. Anyways, she's the oldest living person in the world today. The oldest. She's
Really?
118 years old.
Wow.
And about 4 months. Now, she could have died in the meantime. I haven't looked her up lately, but Kane Tanaka, she's Japanese, And but this is a 3-minute video, so come on, take some time, watch this video today, because you know the idea is, here I am talking about 122, and I know you think this guy's crazy, right? Jim Shorkey's fallen off his chair and hit his head, but the fact is it has been done, and this lady, Kane Tanaka, is living proof of that. And so it's a 3-minute video, and they asked her a question that Alan could very easily ask me today, and they asked her this question. They said, you know, you're 118 years old, and I think it was 3 months at a time, and they said, or actually it was her birthday, so she was 118 years old. They said, what's your favorite moment in your whole 118 years? And she got very teary-eyed. She said, right now. She said, right now. I thought, wow, this lady is cool. I mean, she's got a good brain, and she is just, and she walks with like a walker with wheels on it, but she's living the life. I mean,
Right.
It's worth it to be 118 if you can pull it off, but in order to do that, you got to stop the bull crap, which means what that book is saying there, eat real food. Take care of your liver, take care of your gut, take care of your microbiome in your gut, and eat real food. The more real food you eat, the better. The more Fritos you eat, Doritos, the worse. And so that's what I'm learning, man.
Understand. What's your biggest change that you've made? I know there's many, but what would be your biggest in your mind? Because I know you're goal-oriented. So
Well, there's quite a few. That's a tough one. Well, so number
well,
one,
I like to ask tough questions because I know
yeah.
you're strong enough.
Quitting drinking was a biggie. That was very problematic,
Okay.
and that has a downstream effect to the marriage, the children, to the business, everything.
And your health.
Yeah, and my health. So quitting drinking was a biggie. That was in December 26, 1993. Figuring my way out of bankruptcy imminent, which required change, because you have to remember, you know, wherever you are in life, it's your thinking that got you there. So in order to go to a different place, you got to change your thinking. So
Yes.
in 1998, I had to change my thinking. Going forward, I had quite a few setbacks along the way, and I found with those setbacks, so this would be the third significant change, with those setbacks, there's always a benefit in the setback, but unfortunately for a lot of us, we just give up. And so the benefit to the setback is that because everybody else gives up, Jim Shorkey has no competition because I don't give up, right? So I look at setbacks, right? 2008, 2009, Great Recession comes to mind. 16 million people bought new cars in 2007. 10 million people bought new cars in 2008. So
Wow.
10 million.
What numbers? That's terrible.
6 million people went away, right? Well, I came up with a plan in my response, my reaction to the Great Recession, and I called it the Prosperity Plan. I decided we were going to prosper, and so it was a 24-point
In spite of all this negativity.
In spite of all this negativity, right? We made more money. You couldn't get in the place because we had this plan, right? Made more money in 2008 and 2009 than ever in the history of the Jim Shorkey Family Auto Group. So that was a learning experience. And then this whole health thing is I mean, I could say, well, that's probably the most profound. That's probably the most important one. Because you know what? When you're dead, you're dead.
Yes.
You know what? And I don't want to be dead.
I can relate to that.
Stay here
Yes.
for as long
Yes.
as I can. And so the question I ask within that health parameter is, what must Jim Shorkey do today that the future Jim Shorkey is going to be grateful for? And so when I pick up that bag of Fritos and say, okay, I'm going to put these in my mouth, I don't think the future Jim Shorkey is going to say, I'm so glad you did that 20 years ago, Jim. That was a good idea. No, that's not what's going to happen. So I would say that's probably the biggest change, is getting a hold of my health and really deciding I'm going to knuckle down and do the right things.
And Jim, your timing couldn't be better, because I want to say thank you for the great interview. I was honored to be able to interview you. Well, thank you, sir.
Man. Believe me, brother.
And we're going to say goodbye. Hope you enjoyed the show.
Goodbye.
And try to stay healthy and positive like Jim has presented here. Have a great day.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.